So once more, very good morning to you all. I welcome you into the Industrial Pharmacy 2. Okay, so we are on to the Indian regulatory system and we are going through the process of approval, that is the approval processes, right? In our very last lecture, we had gone through the one of the part of the approval processes where we saw that we need to apply for the process of getting permission or getting grant of approval in order to perform the clinical trial, where we need to apply onto the Sugam portal. What is the Sugam portal? Suraksha, Gunvatta and the Manakta. What does it mean? That means the safety, efficacy and the quality, or the quality, efficacy and the safety. That is what is the meaning of the Sugam portal. And there are two different portals. Like say first is said to be the Sugam portal, where we need to apply for the process of getting grant of approval in order to perform, in order to carry out the process of the clinical trial. And once we have to go for the process of clinical trial, or once we get the approval and the grant, we need to register the clinical trial process, right? So there are two different portals. One is the Sugam portal and another is the Clinical Trial Registry of India. That is the CTRI portal. CTRI, C that will stand for the clinical, T that will stands for the trial, R that will stands for the registry or the register, I that will stand for the India. So it is the CTRI site which is which is containing the database for all the processes of the clinical trial which are happening or which are undergoing into the particular country. So for our India, we are having the CTRI portal, and that is going to be maintained by the particular medical council statistics, right? So what are its processes, that we will going to come to know within few minutes when we will go through our slide, but this is just a general distraction. Then there are different stakeholders in the sense that what the database that will going to be maintained by the CTRI, that can be made available to the interested stakeholders. Let's say for example, there is a industry or there is one who want to register for the process of clinical trial, but he don't know that how to perform it or how to do it. So for them, the details are available onto the site of CTRI, and there the whole data that is available at three different level. There are three different access level. One is the public access, another is the registrant access, and the third one is the administrator access. So public access, that is nothing but the data, that is nothing but the information which is made available at a free of cost to anyone who is interested to explore, who is interested to search, who is interested, want to know that what kinds of clinical trials are registered and presently undergoing onto the portal, right? So that is the public access. Yet I had not gone through these slides. I am just doing some general discussion related with the CTRI. That's why the slide that is not moving. There is a stationary slide, right? Then there is a second access which is said to be the registrant access. So registrant access, that is nothing but the access to the person who first need to register onto the CTRI site. Once he or she will register, then he or she can access the details of the database which is already registered onto the CTRI portal. And the third axis, that is nothing but the administrator axis. So administrator is nothing but the person who is going to be responsible for doing any kind of manipulation changes. Instead of using the word manipulation may not be the correct word, but administrator is the person who is having access to edit any information at any level as far as the entered by the registrant is concerned, right? So these are the three different accesses. Okay, so what we will do now, one by one we will go through these slides and we will try to understand that what and how this particular portal that will works. So basically, the objective behind today's lecture is to understand the relevance of the CTRI, that is the Clinical Trial Registry of India. Then in order to learn that how to search for a registered clinical study, as already I said that this CTRI that will contain the database of all the registrations of all the uh, clinical trials which are registered. Then we need to understand the importance of the prospective registration process. Then we will see that how the process of registration that need to be carried out, and we will go for learning how to update a clinical study, and we will try to understand the post registration process. Now once the registration has been made, what the changes or what are the different details that are available onto the portal in the form of the screenshots of the portal pages that we will try to see. Okay, so basically, this is the CTRI secretariat. So there is a chairperson, there is an administrator, there is a coordinator, there are member secretariats, there are consultants, and there are data entry operators, right? So you can see that this is the at present there is a Professor Balram Bhargava, who is the secretary for the Department of the Health Research and the Director General ICMR New Delhi. He is the chairperson for the CTRI. Then Dr. M. Vishnu Vardhana Rao, he is a senior scientist, scientist G and director ICMR NIMS New Delhi. There are coordinators Atul Juneja and Tulsi Adhikari, Dr. Atul Juneja and Dr. Tulsi Adhikari. These are the scientist E, ICMR, NIMS, that is the National Institute of Medical Statistics, New Delhi. And then there is a member secretary, Dr. Saurabh Sharma, scientist P, ICMR, NIMS, New Delhi. And the consultants are the Dr. Ashok Segal, Dr. Maua Maulik, consultant CTRI, THSTI, Thirsty, and New Delhi. And Dr. Maua Maulik, he is the consultant CTRI, ICMR, NIMS, New Delhi. So this is the home page, basic home page of the CTRI. You can see the site is the www.ctri.nic.in. This site is going to be maintained by the ICMR NIMS. So Indian Council of Medical Research, National Institute of the Medical Statistics. This will maintain the clinical trial registry of India. So you can see onto this particular slide, there are different tabs which will going to provide you the different information. Now, what all these that we will going to come to know when we will go through our slides. So basically, this is the home page, and it is responsible for the process of the new trials. That is the different health condition of the trial participant is now coded as per the ICD-10 classification, and that must be chosen from the drop down list provided up to a maximum of the 4 level to the nearest disease category possible. So this is just in order to maintain the database, right? So clinical trial registration, that is the registration of all the interventional trials, is a scientific, ethical, and the moral responsibility. This is what the WHO says. So it is the moral, it is the ethical, and it is the scientific responsibility of the person who is carrying out the process of clinical trial. He or she has to, he or she must register scientifically, ethically, and morally to that of the portal before starting or before undergoing the process of the clinical trial. Every clinical trial must be registered in a publicly accessible database before recruitment of the first subject. This is the declaration which is given by the Helsinki in 2008. So since 2008 onward, it became mandatory to register all kinds of clinical trials before recruitment of the first subject. It means before enrollment of the first patient, it is mandatory to go for registration of the clinical trial. When in doubt, register. So this is what the WHO that has mentioned. The Clinical Trial Registry of India that was launched on 20th July 2007. See, this is most important. This might be asked in case of the multiple choice questions. The Trial Registry of India, when it is launched in 2007, 20th July 2007, and is hosted by whom? ICMR NIMS. ICMR, National Institute of Medical Statistics, New Delhi, and is a first of its kind system in the country for registering the clinical trial studies. So CTRI, that is the very first in case of the India. Trial registration in the CTRI is an online process and the free of charge. You need not to pay a single penny, a single rupee to anyone in order to register for the process of the clinical trial, and the whole process that is online. The CTRI will undertake only prospective registrations. What does it mean? It will take only the prospective registrations. The meaning of this prospective registration is that the registration of the clinical studies which have not yet begun the patient enrollment. So before starting the enrolling the patient, there is need to go for the registration of the clinical trial. That is what is said to be the prospective registration. What does it mean? It means the registration of clinical trials which have not yet begun patient enrollment. So before enrollment of a single patient, the registration, that is said to be the prospective registration. Countries which do not have a primary registry of their own may also register in the CTRI, right? So those countries which do not have their registry, they can register into the CTRI. So this is the first objective. Second objective is that in order to establish a public record system by registering all clinical trials on health products that are related to the drugs, devices, vaccines, herbal drugs, and is made available to both public and healthcare professionals in an unbiased, scientific, and the timely manner. Second objective is what? To make the database, to make it available as a record system. How? By registry. For whom? For the healthcare as well as healthcare professional as well as to that of the general publics. And which are the different clinical trial registrations that are permitted? The clinical trials that are permitted onto the drugs, devices, vaccines, herbal drugs, and it should be made available to both public as well as to that of the healthcare professionals, like say the doctors, physicians, scientists, right? Then the educationalist, academics, right? To all these that should be made available. Third objective is to create a complete, authentic, and the readily available data of all ongoing and the completed clinical trial. One should come to know that presently what kind of the clinical trial that is undergoing, right? In the present era of the pandemic COVID-19, there are different trials which are, as far as the vaccine is concerned, isn't it? So that is made available, that is available onto the CTRI portal. If you just go and access, you will going to find the details onto the particular portal of the CTRI. The third objective is to provide a corrective system against positive result bias and selective reporting of research results to peer review publication. The data, the information, the scientific research which is carried out, that should be made publicly available by going for the process of the publication. Next objective is to increase awareness and accountability of all the participants of the clinical trials and also for the public access, right? So everything that should be made accountable, the awareness that should be made available to the uh, stakeholders among the public. Next objective is to promote the training assistance and advocacy for the clinical trials by creating database and modules of study for the various aspects of clinical trials and its registration process. So again, this lecture again that became the part of this last objective, to promote training assistance and advocacy of the clinical trial by creating database and models of study for various aspects of the clinical trials and its registration. So through this lecture, through previous lecture, you came to know that if you are going to becoming the part of the regulatory system, you are going to come to know, or now you know that how to go for the process of regulatory submissions, like say the getting grants of approval to perform the clinical trials, right? Now you know that what the Sugam portal is. Now you know that what the CTRI is. Now you know that how this is going to be working. Now you know that what are the different stakeholders. Now you know that what are the different information is required. Now you know that how to carry out the process, right? So this is the part of this third objective, that is the providing training and assistance, right? Okay, so all these are the different objectives of the CTRI. The CTRI has key features, like say the CTRI that will undertake only the prospective registrations. As already told that before going for the registration of any single patient, there is a need to go for registering onto the CTRI, so that uh, anyone should come to know that, or without registration, it became an offense to carry out the process of the clinical trial. So it is mandatory to go for the registration. Then they may be punished accordingly if they are carrying out without registering. So next key feature is that it is initiated as a voluntary process. That is the voluntary process. It means that the principal investigator or the sponsor, they need to go for a voluntary registration process. Voluntarily, they should take initiation to go for registering the clinical trial. Registration of regulatory interventional trials in the CTRI was declared mandatory by the DCGI in 2009. In 2009, it became mandatory to register for the process of the clinical trial. Several ethics committees and the journals, they will insist upon the trial registration. So before going for publication of any information, any data, it is mandatory, or these committees or the publication journals, they want the information, or they want to know that whether the process has been registered or not, whether the clinical trial has the registration or not. The registered trials may be searched and viewed online by anyone at any time, anywhere, freely, right? So the portal that will provide the access to all the information onto their site. Next, the CTRI that will undertake only the prospective registrations of the interventional trials, observational studies, BAB studies, and the post-marketing surveillance studies. The dataset is currently the same for all study type, right? Whatever may be the type of study for which, or any kind of trial, if it is there, that is requiring the same kind of information, the same kind of data set is required, or that is common to any registration process, that is common to any kind of the clinical trial. Okay, trial details are expected to be updated regularly over the course of the study and post summary result along with publication link upon completion. Whatever the trial, whatever the information, whatever the new data that is collected, that need to be updated, that need to be uploaded onto the portal, and the publication link or the publication associated with the same should be made available onto the portal. If we want to see the access to the CTRI, there are three different levels of access to the CTRI. As already I told you that there is a first level of access, which is said to be the public access. Then second level, that is the registrant. And the third level, that is the administrator. So the public that do not require any kind of registration, registrant that will require the first registration process, whereas administrator, these are the officials officials belonging to that of the CTRI, right? So these three are the different levels of the access to that of the CTRI data. What is public access? Public access, that is nothing but the facility to search for and view details of registered clinical trials. They can view and download the trial registration datasets. They can view the publications. They can view the e-learning modules and contact the administrator for any kind of the queries. So any person, any public person, even you can go onto this particular portal of the CTRI, and there you can access the data which is available. If you add any kind of query, you can just contact with the mail ID which is asked or which is provided there, and onto that email ID you can ask any of your query if you have. If you want to learn further more, then you can go for, or you can go through all these e-learning modules that are available onto the CTRI site, right? Then the above function that do not require registration process in the CTRI. Public access that do not require any kind of registration onto the CTRI. So this is the public access page, and you can see that onto this particular page some information is given. This information you can read, that will provide you some knowledge related with the CTRI. There is a e-tutorial. You can click onto this, so that will provide you the tutorial, like say audio, video content, which is available onto the CTRI. Then you can go on clicking onto this FAQ button. You can see onto the top, there is a bar, there is a menu bar, and this menu bar will contain one of the menu, that is the FAQs, that is the frequently asked questions. If you just click onto these frequently asked questions, that will take you to the different kinds of questions which are already asked onto the CTRI, and you will going to find the information related with that. Let's say, for example, what is a primary registry, right? So what it is, what is its meaning? Before directly going for the, let's say if you want to go for registering any kind of clinical trial, before directly going to the process of clinical trial, first you should go through all these frequently asked questions, right? So that will clears most of your doubts, and your process of submission, that will become hassle free, and that will become easy, right? Then you can see there are some of the trial registrations data sets that are for download. So these are just for the trial, these are just for the reference purpose, right? So with this you can get some idea for your submissions. Next, there is a feedback system. So this is the 24/7 round the clock feedback system, where the administrator that can give answer to your queries, for which you need to write your name, your email ID, and type of feedback that you want. You want information onto which already registered, or if you want to register, or how to register. You will going to find some of the pull down menus here, and based on your query you have to select one particular, then you need to type your feedback here. You have to enter this particular security code, and after entering, then you need to click onto this submit button. You are going to find some of the search options, like say there is a trial search, there is a general search, and there is a advanced search, right? So you just need to enter uh, uh, into this particular keyword search. Just type, let's say for example, if you want to search anything related with that of the COVID, you just type here the COVID COVID, and go on entering this particular captcha and enter. You will getting directed by the portal to the queries related with your search, related with your keyword. So based on your search result, let's say for example, what query you had entered, you will be getting the information related with that, and that information will provide you all these details, like say the CTRI number, that is the clinical trial registration number. Then the what is the trial title, the what type of title it is, whether it is interventional or the bioavailability, bioequivalence. Then there are some of the recruitment status, not applicable, Indian completed. Then health condition, it is related with what? Then the intervention name. So this is for the rubella vaccine. Location where this process or the clinical trial that is carried out. So this particular kind of rubella related That is the KM hospital in case of the Maharashtra. If you want to see the details, you need to click onto this wave where you are going to see the details, right? So this is the way by which we can go for searching. So this is what about the very first, that is said to be the public access, right? The second type of access, that is the registrant access, which is the second level of access. And registrant, that is nothing but the authorized persons to register onto the clinical trial. So the registration in the CTRI is needed to gain access to this facility. So what we need to do, first of all, we need to go for the process of registration. So just to go on to the CTRI page, there you will going to find the new applicant. You need to click onto this new applicant. Once you will click onto the new applicant, it will ask you the information that is to be provided. All the information that is in the asterisk, that is mandatory to enter. So before going for submitting, you need to read all this information which is available. So that will ensure you to enter the correct information. You need not to enter any kind of the special characteristics. These are not at all allowed. Like say there is a dollar symbol, there is a greater than, there is a lesser than, or there is a asterisk or at the rate. All these are not permitted onto this particular portal. So accordingly, you can enter the information. So once you will enter the information, that will ensures your registration process. Now, once the process of registration is over, a confirmatory mail that will going to be sent by the CTRI onto your mail ID, which has been mentioned during the process of registration in the required field. So the second confirmatory mail that will goes on to your mail ID, that it will ensures that, or it will confirms that the process of registration is over, and the email ID password that is provided through email onto your registered email ID. Now, after getting those login credentials, that is login ID, that is username and the password, you need to enter username here, you need to enter password here, you need to enter this particular captcha, you need to click onto the login. Once you will get, once you will click onto the login, you will gain access to this particular dashboard. So where you will get the information related with what, with related with the queries. You can see there is a trial clarification modification, there are registered trials, some of the general categories, general queries. There is a tab for editing the profile information which you had entered at the time of registration. Then there is a facility in order to change your login ID credential, like say the password, right? And this will particularly provide you the dashboard, that is the under entry stage, under review stage, registered trials, and the terminated or the suspended trials. So this is for uh, the process of registration of the new clinical trial into the CTRI portal, right? So here you can see that there is a circled remark which will uh, or onto that of the click here to add new trial. Suppose if you want to undergo or if you want to carry out the process of clinical trial, then in that case you need to click onto this, click here to add new trial. Once you will click onto this, it will ask you the details that are to be submitted. So this is the way by which or where you need to click onto the where you need to fill the information. You need to enter the public title for your clinical trial. You need to enter the scientific title and you need to enter the acronym. So just by clicking onto this particular symbol, it will direct you or it will guide you that what particular information needed to be entered into the particular field. After entering the required information into these two field, you need to click onto the proceed button. Once you will click onto the proceed button, it will give you the message that the new trial added. Click on update link given against the trial for the further entry. You need to click onto the OK. Then if you will click onto the OK, then you need to ask to enter the information onto these different 8 parts. So this is the 8 parts of the CTRI form. You need to click onto this particular click button, so that the information which is to be needed, so that field will get opened. So there is a part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5, part 6, part 7, and the part 8. Part 1 that will contain the public title, which is already entered, scientific title, that is just now we had entered. Part 2 that will contain the secondary IDs, principal investigator or the overall trial coordinator, that is the multi-center study details. So the investigators details, then there is a need to provide the contact person, that is the scientific query, and for the public query we need to provide source of monetary or the material support, source of financial support we need to enter, primary sponsor, secondary sponsor, countries of the recruitment, right, from where we are recruiting the subjects for the process of the clinical trial. So this is the part of the part 3. Then in case of the part 4, you will going to find the site details, site of study, name of the ethics committee and the approval status, then the regulatory clearance obtained from the DCGI, and the health condition or the problem for which the trial need to be carried out. The part 5 that will contain the study type, what type of study it is. It is interventional, bioavailability, bioequivalence, what kind of it is, that you need to enter here. Part 6 that will provide you the information related with the intervention and the comparator agent, inclusion exclusion criteria, method of gathering the randomization sequence, method of allocation, concealing, then the blinding and the masking. So all the study information that is provided into the part 6. Part 7 that will contain the primary outcome, secondary outcome, target sample size, phase of trial, date of first enrollment, and the estimated duration of the trial. So all this information that is included into the part 7, whereas part 8 that will include the trial submission link. So where you need to give some of the brief summary and the publication information related with the trials and recruitment status of the trial. So all this information that is needed to be furnished at the time of registration. So once you enter all these information, then the portal will ask you to submit trial to the CTRI. Once you will click onto the trial submission button, it will direct you onto the next page. So next page, that is nothing but the checklist, where the portal that will ask you to go for checking all these parameters. All these are the mandatory parameters, right? The one for which the information has been submitted, that will be tick mark as right, as correct. For which the information is not provided, just that will give you the cross mark. So this will ensure that this information need to be filled or remain left to be filled, so that we can go for filling it. So without filling all these mandatory information, the process of trial that cannot be submitted properly. So that it will give the remark that the trial submission failed. Items that are mandatory for submission of trial have either been omitted or are not proper. You are requested to kindly check the mark items and then submit the trial again, right? So this is the checklist before the going for the process of submission. So once you enter all the information, you will be getting the right tick mark at all the field, and it will successfully carry out the process of submission. Your trial has been successfully submitted to the CTRI for the review, right? Your trial, once it is successfully submitted, that will generate a reference number. So there is a reference ID, that is the reference ID 20186. So this is the particular date onto which it has been submitted, and this is the particular time and seconds. So there is a digital number, there is a digital reference number which is automatically generated. So once you will going to find that the process registration has been submitted, you can see here there are total trials. So there is a, so this will give that it is under entry stage. That means this is not completely entered, right? So that's why all these things are pending. There is no reference number, there is no CTRI number, right? For the successfully submitted, you will be getting here the reference number and the CTRI number. Let us say, for example, you had submitted and you had been asked to go for updation or for correction. Then in that case, the information is asked in order to correct, in order to submit, in order to update. So for which you need to click onto this particular link. Click here to update trial sent back after review by the CTRI. Once it has been submitted to the CTRI that will review, that will check it, that will scrutinize it. If they will find any kind of information that is incomplete, in that case they will send us back. So that sent applications you will going to find in this particular link. And here you can see that there is update button. If you just click onto this update button, it will ask you to, or it will permit you to update the details. If you think that the information which has been entered that is wrong, that is not required, so you just go on clicking onto the delete button, so that